beachcwyd, sé ungin y scanulyn ys mo an yn echdri yn hyrafis slantio nasianta, le fisg a chle agos briag yn ganeis. Sna siachgatyn sna hochgatyn, hwyd na mieltyn digwnia an yn bretyn yn rho tripletyn ffadda mae'r Hemophilia lies ŵr, agent piaddi yn rho factor och. Fer gallianoch van y staatje nu nitje. Y sin gyda, fer y pe gwnia son ffwr a hort siachyd, y ciodochwch gyda dwnia fan yr yr i drygichin mae'r esimpler tric na mesg. Hwyd corir ceir gylie mil yn iach an yn bretyn hepatitis C agos HIV rilyn factor och. Be mahir John Kenneth Algie yw. Hwyd e'n da chwyd hepatitis agos HIV. Chwchyle as y lwmnystel neu gia ceirfichyd sy jeich. Fel lechir blion y gwys.
Well, morning everyone. Lovely.
Is mis Suzie Roberts. Chleach me a fi'n am neach neach gycwn am fiws y gwbyr Eòrpa. A mi yn diwn am y finistr an y pŵl an y Dorset. An y da file sy'n neidiag, ha si sgrwtych pobloch a ha gamas fein ymach dyd o'ch a hachir, chai ciar agos yn bwy a hwca dwnia. Hwyd mi hein agos my fahir yn corym yn sgialoch gac ein eisiau dy lochloga.
Nu with the leave me in fian is a hashel. That a honnick me and skeeloch gakem skrieftje aan het duis gjald. Diedach maar eens me a gan loch lugge. Ban een noors in de hanekes jacharem. Nach bij misje maar innevach about bruin. Ach misje maar diekere. Koik blinde diek a goos. Van een oors in de hanekes, jacharem, verdochen nach romier jeligig, risne hachid.
Van oorsen ha mi vi fiach in rikiele jenug en a ferach gynja nakem. Has ich mi dol gonjach karliche, vi hun blione, eges ha sin na haik voor, ach ha barach geje. Chan je mi riev kynjach ri Danielle een duk sha boy, eges ha mi kogune gewen mi nische dat de jene sin. A mi táiseach uch me hurus as yn jelen sciahanach, far yn dygloes mi hein agos me fahir is jay bas mahir, far yn dwyr sy'n táiseach i asŵr, agos far yn dywn sich misha galig. Chanil sy'n y ffydiach an tyliag, ach bi sy'n y tyliag trych. A me fahir an yn dras da laich yn sŵre, agos hai cynniach ag eddash gynwyr y rwcwch mi.
You looked just like him, and he was just absolutely thrilled. And when he came home and he took you out for a walk, because he was a driving instructor, we've got an L plate on the back of his back and on the pram.
Nice.
Walking down the road. He was delighted with you. And we were a lovely little family. I do look.
Ha cain jacem sir mar dynjevin, sporsel.
I'm standing sideways.
Na moike, glwysyn for Stockton, go St Albans. Honnig me fahir tei corje vai gen viach gyfig frekerach a mahir nach roi'r chorym glwysyd mar a chliach. Chai me farant yn go cynnu leis y skip y medicach eke, agos iet yn dŵl gorod dal y vrein mwy haich gein son yn teisio awdyn.
We went in and they showed us into this room. Do you mind if we video this interview?
Was that quite unusual? Had they said
they
that
had
before?
never done that before. Yeah, that's fine. I was all ready to go talking about this house. And they started talking about AIDS. So what would happen if Mr. Algie was HIV positive? So I said, well, it's not a discussion. We are here to talk about the house. Why are we talking about AIDS? And they ended up making me cry.
Yeah.
Then they said we would have a break. So I'd say, I'm going out to the car to get a tissue. And I go back in and we sit down. They said, well, now we have to tell you that Mr. Algie is HIV positive.
Fa fisachge gyda bein baas y fa sioga. Chadiach taich nio corlius yn bi a herig siagaif, fa mis y cehir blion y diag. Chéad sin as a dhé ag an taim mar a bear burin gain, ba mach agus a steachas an ospital trích cuideach gotá. Ban dóis a bhar a délige gris et a realitenis agus HIV
He was barrier nursed, and they used to just hand his food in the door. They wouldn't go in.
So all of a sudden, it's become, he's like some sort of like pariah.
Yes.
Social pariah.
And he had to have when they look down your throat to your chest.
God, yeah, some sort of endoscopy. Endoscopy.
That's right. Where you would normally be taken into theatre.
Yeah.
But because of his condition, he couldn't be taken out of his room, and they did it in the room. And when I went to see him next time, he was there with his vest and it was all dirty. I'm going to make you cry now. I'm sorry.
It's all right. I remember
And I couldn't bear it because we had looked after him so lovely.
Chafik nóvach a vir me bhaher ag an am sin. Se glévik de gúniag an de géin sin mu HIV maher leis chod donna sa bhain stigma. Ba fiú séciláide gan bíonsa ma hatal amachas a scór. Le colosam go a bhas a tín fasc, chorún me bhaher einsid an scór.
I got an appointment to see the headmistress, and I was there all in my best suit with my gloves on and everything, because you think, I've got to do this right, because once it comes out, it's out.
Yeah.
And she was just absolutely amazing. She said, "Does Suzanne know?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "You mean to tell me that this child I taught yesterday is having to cope with this without any of us here knowing? Why didn't you come and tell me?" And I said, "Because I didn't know how you would react."
No.
A cór déicheríche bliana a gal seachat inise van a chuchel maher, a chan dí seach in haast ga júndrain gemór. Bí gar búadach ag dífer amanen an na dífer gáin.
But when I see people of my age walking along hand in hand, and I sort of think, oh,
should have been us.
Yes, I haven't got him.
Yeah. And things like my graduations.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
or when I had breast cancer.
Yes, I
that
didn't
was
have
hard in
anybody to bounce it
2007.
off. Yes.
Yeah.
And your wedding, where I walked you down the aisle, I was happy to do it, but your dad should have been doing that. One thing that has struck me, I haven't got a house of my own, I'm still renting.
Yeah.
We got married and we bought our first house with £4,000. We paid £1,000, and yet 50 years later I still haven't got a house.
It feels like you've been punished all this time for something that wasn't your fault.
Yes.
Ha mescachug de rútana dal traméintín is J.V. Brown rí me bhaher. Va agus hai cholátir, get a ha cúsin a bhí gymá duliché a camanan. Haar cretu an dí seach in a chuteach gemór agus a chanilisach an cát an bíag sin a súnis. Ha falla seach gotá go bhfuil mise ferach géin fiarach man na hachar gam a farantan, rút nach chéil me bhaher a ferach géin. Féimi mi dóil dharach déilge grishinierach a hasio. Ha rút eile búad garam bhachún gydig. Ban lá a chuchil maher, ha mise bhí ferach géin uadach am a bhaher si a fácan na húnar. Gynnistagal ha seo bhí cutje maram. Mar a sáfist gotá ha bhí san jelan sciahanach a torst sí go. Bhígan trúrach in tín na seo cóna leichin súre, agus rhaine cíal glósa a seo is dé bás maher, agus cíal ecisin risináte cuideach. Hánig me farantin go lepi is brachgist éiric an hoiseach fesgur lechie blian edas, agus híl sin grún hurisin van warsin. Ha jo cheinechke maher.
Bij getalletje de heen, wij han gehoord door keren oorsebi. Wij gaan niet getalletjes, even get de wijboog, gehoord door keren dief. Haar kan ook zo'n mission naar Kalmarsin, you know weet je.
Dídach. Agus fiús uadan ha caiineach an fiús go bige uadan go bige ruta an gramnoch ska, you know, go ferach cin tín, ach spec an hianug. Ach chafig gearan mun a hachar ga.
Jo, ga holen me even keren met een hacher ga.
Nu is me jerig van trúrach in cónda ag ta éiric, van maher go boch agus nach buringa uadan an édi. Ach Charlum sa bhí caiineach na hamanan hollitje vecin seo.
Cíalcha nuavas gósa.
gyfer cain ac y deth. Von chan i'n mi cynnig o'ch rhitor gwn i gyfer cain, gyd o'ch o'ch yw'n sgybig cer ffich y bliona fyga. Anisha.
Fyr.
Ie, ag eis hasin i'r gwasyd, chod treich. Snach eich tor gwn i iofoch, chan i'n cain ach gyd. Han haw ma'n nish togladar yma sy'n yelyn sgia hanach, ag eis ag olfa ynnyr nish. Sna mi sy'n my yerig a fehe, who is maher cwrym iantach an an hospital sohritje an a Lunnain a mild me of a cetas J. Islantich le AIDS. Becken vliannichin is J. maher i biaun, va shonak gonaloch a coperan.
Va fijn, je kan ting. No, ik zal nou kopen dan een naadje machine. Ach, goose, ga het ruiken. Van mij zit jullie janu jiffer, ma aan de behe na tuinje va koelarum. Hoe wa?
Ai.
Agus tortigaif, gul, is graag, is caronis, is blas. Agus a volle kaal. Begeel hem heen, tuinje alle wie ik janu hoe heen. Na mich mische as a siokuchen. Na de wasie gaat. Vavan is akin. Genukshin gaif. Behe va. Agus baas va. Kujok. Agus va fusak. Koshin. Agus
Gydach.
Fashion
Charo
garw.
dy mesg strainsirin. Charo.
Charo. Va fusak gro na dynja va koelaru etenjadig va de giori y fiawn. Agus she privilege voor van. Y fi koelaru dynja. Sa de fakal yn hwyl.
Va kutje loch goprach a hug taich voor go heen agus gamma farentin at sa va maheran. Ga jechen nicht mee een keivnisch gebrach. Ha keiniak yn sy'r gys gysoritje va chaplain an, is een kanner Peter, va keiniak y deir.
Keiniak y me.
Oh, sgynniad, siag. Dynia wach gadidio. Fe gydol ysdiach cynnioch i'ch rhi maher o'r. A farach gyda sy'n Julian. Nurse Julian, roes yn alder
She ward manager van a Julian an a wardel ac o fasnog.
Ba, agus, ba, cho cain, agus feis yn colmari maher nyr fas eich ia. Fa mac ydi yw fi cynnych o'ch rishon ac a ffysym rach roi e gyfael me ag yn nhw'n nams y fa maher, ach fa iawn siach blionus jay I ga maher baus ach o'ch agus fa iolddach eith cydgen y gwynia a fa gyma cydrymach gonsa sy'n alm y fa maher awn. Agus leis sy'n se siorse dy ciel y fan, ethyr yn diw agus yn halm y fa sy'n. Nŵr efo maher tîn, charo cael ysakin gyron y mil tynele hwydd hepatitis agus HIV fo factor och. Ha mi ferach gen gyfele cytrymach o cynnioch ych rhi fioenele yn dyfwel sio. Ha mi nes i dolach cynnioch ych rhi Tony a chai lachar sga HIV se Hemophilia gyfan agus. Ha mi rwtig yn drygel me ein an yn doi, ha mi ket yr fi a cynnioch ych ach ek ich jaarstam, ha mi rwtig yn drygel me ein van as triche blian a chai siachat, gaat a chynnig mi rief rhi dynje a chai a fwolwg leis y sganiel a hasio. Gaat a chynnig mi rief rhi dynjele a fyr parent a chalf agus chanyelism cymra ha na sgielachgen ac ein hyn y dolf a fwolwg yr chele marc yn bych. Le cwysyn ac yn tei dyrif chai Tony a chwrygach I cwrym. At y fasyn, hwydd ymach gyro HIV aher Barry. Ha Tony yn eisiau tygsyn gyntig yn HIV bwy enochin agos dol ymach aher. Vrish slan changing Barry agos fas yn hospital yn ei a hol.
Barry keeps asking about his prognosis. He's really worried. He's sad because he's going to die. And that was in his notes for several weeks, every day on the nurse's notes. And then all of a sudden on the 21st, the last entry was Barry stopped asking us about his prognosis. And then he died the next morning. And I just think the torment, that was the hardest bit for me when I got those medical notes and we got to the sectioning and what was going through his mind at the time. Reading that for me was really difficult, and I think that's when I developed issues. I developed IBS, I developed psoriasis. I was really, really unwell. I was reading these medical notes of my dad being really unwell and dying, and that had a massive impact on me. And then, yeah, all the diagnoses came back clear. There was nothing wrong with me. It was this.
Connected.
It was stress.
Yeah, yeah.
So I went through that journey and out the other side.
Chutich Tony gus curir dói buin de chláin, the fatherless generation, a chailen cuj arichin. Had a cymel taich cri chéile. Chure cujach shachat imig bliona a gimmers der son in scrútig poploch.
It was definitely a release to get it out there, but I think we're hearing so much stuff from the inquiry where this was avoidable. Then you start having the thoughts of, well, my life could have been so different. You know, how my life panned out and where I ended up was avoidable as well. I certainly shouldn't have been in the children's home, and I know that was a statement echoed by my social worker, is that I shouldn't have even been there. I wasn't a naughty child. I was there because my dad was dying of AIDS. That's why I was there. That shouldn't have happened. And the fact that the government have never recognised the suffering of the children, and at a time where we should have been having parental influence on our lives, and that was taken away.
I don't know about you, but I still sort of find myself doing things to make him proud. So I knew he wanted me to do a degree at some point, 2017, and got my degree.
Wow.
I was like, did it for Dad. Yeah.
We all have those moments, but I don't know, I just find it really difficult because they're gone. For me, the hardest part was Christmases and birthdays.
Oh, yes.
You know, not having the card with his name in. You know, that was, and to look, it was so long ago.
Yeah, I know.
You know, nearly 37 years ago.
Yeah.
Certainly that first Christmas, the Christmas of 1986, where there was no presents.
Yeah.
You know, from my dad.
Yeah.
There was nothing. I don't know, is it small? I don't know. I didn't think it was small, and I still don't to this day. That's the one thing that I still miss is that handwriting. Just to see that name.
Yeah, I know.
Just those little things mean so much, and they're so little, but they mean so much.
Ha mi geuntach ag leis. Siad na rutan beke a ha cumel mahir bia na meintjin.
Ha mi chotáilte de chunig mi rí Tony, ord va choma vi brein rí cute genelle, san a chia tuad an a triche blione, a va tuk sin a sorse rut a va sin délige gris ag am na va sich mahir. Agus ha mi smúneachug a gan bí mi cumel an na touch leis, mar gan bích agus leis a bhuiin, the fatherless generation, or ha jenny differ mór ha mi smúneachug a bhí brein rí dúnelle a ha tuk sin a húns go belietsen gal tron a hún sorse rutten. Har sin acum riamh agus leis sin han a chóirtach ónsa go bhfuil town.
As J. Brainry Shonach agus Tony va mi mianach ag tuilid mild me far an de chuchel mahid. Gagan woch goproch an jouwer coinjachi foskeltje go.
Ha íontach a sorse bhui a hece seo arm a bhí féichcéin enim scríb dean na leor coinjachi ach na hánig nísteach agus chunna mé ina mahir scríbte John Kenneth Algie an dearmh lá an do bhásaige. A sin duibh an dói ach ag dheorstam ha má bhí a féichcéin an ha na dhearabh go raibh mar farst de dheachtraí an áitethe seo. Scuú ha má bhí féichcéin ina mar ríist.
Mar a hánig mahir a seo ag tosioch naiki a tí a ceirfiche sa déich, va dúlacin nach ráach becin heachcin in ecke Irakel, ach va seo och miesen. Gaf a fuse part on the programme television Beyond This Is the Day of our Clarigan show, a brain Mohinius.
Well, it was such a shock. I wasn't expecting it at all. But my being a Christian, that certainly helped me to get over the shock. So I want to be a sort of more positive, you know, and you just put it to one side and get on with the life that you've got.
Ha mi cho prósild gyn dy frwynia. Fa mi hein agos ma ddaher y sio yn la fa am BBC y crwlwg, agos sinna hw gar y mian noch hwg ydi gopers na meanin. Be can hiach gynyn ys jay la sy'n chwchala. Ha mi cho taingylch an y faild me son yn cwr am y hwydda, agos son na mias yn y farach gyhwydd sy'n conlerish.
Ha mi nes i dolwch yn iach ri Richard, se Hemophilia ca hana Richard, agos hair fi biole HIV on the fan ag yn iog. Char o cael i ysacymsa gofi hiwn gyddich gyro Hemophilia sy'n bi bio haust hwydd HIV fy naw my fasyn. Smar sy'n ham i cet ar yrst rydw i gachynioch Chanielism yn bi rydych coloch rhi mahir, agos chanielism di siwrs y ffedach gynyn a fys ac am yn nôrsyn.
Chanir ffisig Richard yn diw cwrish a ha coloch a fi biog yn fian, pian agos pilichin yn parst laichil ga fehe. Hwyd e hepatitis agos HIV fo factor och, han y cydioch gyn chinias twytymachyd i'r sga yn HIV. Mae'r foren fa greisian mas jach un siga gro HIV Fa ffiseg cydyn y dochter yn ece son ceir bliona mas jach un sigasyn am ceir fichyd sa hoch.
I had a routine GP appointment with my local GP in Scarborough. This was a routine appointment to check on my epilepsy. And the first thing he said to me, Richard, you do know that you're HIV positive, don't you? I said, no, I don't know, didn't know that. And that was it. I just walked out, just head in my hands, walked home. And I went back and had to tell Tina. We held each other for it seemed like forever, just sobbing. And it's so amazing that she's sort of stuck with me, you know, through all we've been through.
Fa Richard a fi yn sgol sohoritje college art fed trelors an the Shirok Hampshire, fa a ro Tor Valley yn ro Hemophilia y dol. Ha Richard na noti chineke a chryniochwg agos jalafein na hachir ga.
I've got the list of treatments that I had at the time of Trelors. What the pharmaceutical companies did is they kept back several samples of every batch and they were put into cold storage. So if in future there was a problem, they could go back to the batch and test it and to see, do analysis on it to see what the problem was. When the test became available, they went through all the manufacturers went through all their batches that they had in storage. And there was one particular batch I had in 1978 and it was positive for HTLV3.
Which is HIV.
Which is HIV.
Sna ceir fichydyn, leis gyro'r yn dŵl nach bych dŵnia le HIV bio ach gan y tri flionigyn, fa Richard agos Tina dyn fiach nach ro torwnia ece Iraqel. Gyda jys jeiga ffeinia mach gyro HIV hachyd undyn y rwtyn ys dwlia a hanig na'n rat.
We had an accident in 1988 and Tina got pregnant. So she went to a GP, we both went to my haematologist and we talked about it. And it was just not long after I'd been diagnosed. And he said, it's got to go, you can't have it. The risk was too high to the child. As it turned out, that was the last chance we had to start a family. I feel absolutely awful for Tina because that's what she wanted. You know, she wanted a family. To have that child terminated, it was just awful.
Ha jarafach gan dŵr 1223 HIV fo factor 8, hanes lugan na 10 gilie haast bio. A mescan join je chugel ha cor 3 fiche te jeich fo cholisje trelors. Charo cala gulek Richard gan bige haast bio chan a wan du.
You ask yourself, why am I still here? Why? What have I done differently where I deserve to be still alive when these other people have died, that were having the same treatment as me, that went through what I did? And it's a very, very difficult area. It's difficult to understand even now. I don't know what it is. It haunts me to think about it at times. People that were really good friends, just gone. And it's really tough.
Fa gyma dylich fi cynioch ri Richard agos cloentio na hwle cael her tachart ga. Ach ag nynam hwg fi ga cynioch tocel fôr go, ha mi cho tolitje gyfel a haast bio. Ha aide Richard, Tony agos Madjese gymor yn sgrwtig. Bydwnia torth fian y siachat son grwn fies yn haast, agos thocha gyr an y fichyd sy 3 yn ochgys bwll na sgrwti. Ha Tony y sirych gyn tic yn eiddi ymach mynd na hachir, agos le sien gyn tic ciarthus agos thons dy hi.
I'm 50 in a couple of weeks, so I've lived more of my life under this shadow of this lie, and then I hope now that we can finally get to the bottom of that, so what I have got left, and it will never be 36 years, I don't know, maybe I will live in my 80s, I don't know, but I almost now want to make sure that I spend as much of that time free of this.
Maar Tony va Richard Kutjach ges 3 fat vlienichen son skrútige vi aan. Ha delicha vi foskeltje rische hulle dinje mu gevel HIV Charoem biach likkelische foppel uit den eichken, er va torstien is schachet, ach gaheriche eentje je gevinnet me jerig, is vriendje gepopwoch.
Literally was at the last minute. I said, I want to do this, Tina, let's do it. Why not? And it was terrifying to start with. Got so many good friends that I've been working with for the past 15, 16 years on the campaign. And the dogs travelled from tip of Scotland, and Devon to come and hear me, hear what I had to say. And when it was all over, and we hugged each other at the end, it was probably the most cathartic thing I've ever done, because it was like this massive weight had been lifted off my shoulders, or off for both of us. And we were able to just let it all out. It was almost like a huge relief to be able to tell the world what had happened to us and what we'd been through.
Le vi torst gud de gunje han skrutig me ra giffer jenu. San skan skrutig je horsich mische shire gunje hukkig maar ha mi ferach gein.
Ha vi derf. Ach, ek het jaarstaan hij vi wafsach geen femel go. Vi kunjachug ri dunjelle ver een boavig lesje skanjelle vasho. Eges ha biolesje hulle wa. Ha barach tukshakem zie ik in gunjelle. Eges skielwach akem heen. Maar ha mi ferach gein min hachid.
Ha sinne ferach gein maar keim gyma môr agus gyma cydramach. Chanile gyfi cwpr arym gynniste tylig maar ha fi son cor jeicher ich het bliana.